welcome to the Book Bunch. Today we are going to be comparing some different books, so if you liked one, I'm going to recommend another one for you that's kind of similar. So it's just something a little bit different for today than just a normal review. I hope you enjoy the video. The first comparison for today is Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451 against George Orwell's 1984. So if you've read Fahrenheit 451 and you like it for the fact that, like, basically the government's trying to control society and people are fighting back, if that's why you liked the book, or if you wanted the book to have more of that and it fell short for you, then I would recommend 1984 by George Orwell. I feel like George Orwell does an exceptional job at kind of conveying the dangers of when a government or society wants to control its citizens and kind of the negative effects of that, and yeah, just the extent of what the government can do. For example, in 1984, the government goes as far as actually rewriting history. So if they contradict themselves in a speech, for example, or if they change their minds on something, or if they don't, or for example, they've killed someone off and they don't want any record of them existing, they literally rewrite every single article, every single piece of documentation or evidence that would have, like, caused the issue. They wipe it out and they get people to rewrite it so that basically society doesn't have any idea and they basically just believe whatever the government is saying because of, like, they don't have any proof basically otherwise. So yeah, these two, I really liked both. I definitely liked 1984 better. I just think it does a better job at kind of portraying, yeah, kind of the issues with when a government kind of tries to control their society. But I think Fahrenheit 451 is a good kind of entry book into that kind of genre. So if you liked either of those, I recommend you read the opposite. Yeah, I think these are really good books. So if you've read or watched I Am Legend, I recommend that you read the Eden trilogy, the first book being The Bane. This is mostly on, like, this series is mostly on, like, ebooks. It's very difficult to track down the physical copy, so just keep that in mind. But if you liked I Am Legend for the actual, like, zombies themselves, I recommend that you read this, because in I Am Legend, the zombies basically come about by a injection that they received for a cure of cancer, and then they've kind of taken over the rest of the population. In the Eden trilogy, it's very similar, except it comes through the people that are infected are people who had received organ transplants, because in the book the organ transplants were actually made out of nanites, and the nanites basically slowly took over their bodies. And now if you are touched by someone who is infected, the nanites enter your bloodstream and they take over you as well, and you basically become a robot with human skin. And so if you really liked I Am Legend for the zombie aspect and that whole idea, I would definitely recommend reading the Eden trilogy. I definitely think the Eden trilogy does a way better job at conveying, like, zombies and all of that kind of thing and that kind of concept. This is my favorite series of all time that has any kind of zombie or infection or that kind of idea in it. I think that Kerry Taylor does a really, really good job at it. So if you liked I Am Legend, or you like the idea of it but it just kind of missed the mark for you, definitely check out the Eden trilogy. It's absolutely brilliant. The comparison we have is the Night Circus to the grandest bookshop in the world. So if you liked the Night Circus, because I know this is the popular one, I definitely recommend you reading the grandest bookshop in the world. This is a middle grade, but I don't think that should put you off reading it, because it was really, really good. And it's the closest thing I found to the same concept as the night circus. So in the night circus, there are two basically apprentice magicians who have been pitted against each other in a competition, and basically they have to try and beat the other person through this circus through magic. The grandest bookshop in the world is very similar in that aspect, because the bookshop becomes the arena, and basically these children, in order to save their father and the bookshop, they have made a deal with essentially like the devil or an evil magician, whatever you want to call him. And he has said, like, okay, I'll play this game with you. If you beat me in this series of games, then I will release your father in the bookshop. If you don't, then I get your father, the bookshop, and your memories of all of that. It's really, really interesting. Lots of fun. I definitely like the night circus better, but I think this is definitely the closest comparison I've ever found to the same concept. And I still gave this like a 5 out of 5 stars. I think this is absolutely brilliant. I loved every moment of this. So yeah, if you like the night circus and you want more books like it, definitely pick this one up. You might not like it quite as much, but you'll definitely have a brilliant read from it because it's still extraordinary. So yeah, the night circus to the grandest bookshop in the world. And finally, my last comparison is Clara and the Sun and the Sea of Rust. So if you've read Clara and the Sun, a lot of people like this book because the whole book is from the point of view of an AI companion, and the AI like helps look after this sick little girl, and a lot of people like the concept of reading from an AI's point of view. And like, I've heard a lot of people who recommend this book on BookTube or wherever else say that it's worth reading for the fact that you're reading from the point of view of an AI. So if that's why you like the book and you want more like that, I would recommend Sea of Rust. So Sea of Rust is also from the point of view of an AI, except in this like story, humanity's been wiped out. So there was a human versus robot war, and the robots ended up winning. But now there's like robot against robot fighting, because there's these giant robot entities that are basically multi-conscious robots that are kind of like the superior AI that basically steal the minds of individual robots to make this like massive intelligence. And these masses of intelligence are trying to kind of wipe out all of the little robots. And you're reading from the point of view of a little robot, and this little robot is failing. So it's really interesting to read from the point of view of an AI and everything, because it does have emotions. The robot that you follow, it's not quite a companion robot, but it was a servant or like a helper robot, so it's slightly different. So it wasn't invented to be just like a friend to someone, it was also meant to like serve that person. So they're slightly different but very similar strain. And yeah, it's really interesting hearing all about like the AI and how it's developed emotions and what those emotions are and how it fears for its life, and like what it's going through with the kind of fight for survival, not only because it's failing and it's trying to find parts to keep itself alive, but also like there's an immediate threat of it being hunted. So if you liked the AI perspective from Clara and the Sun, I definitely think you would like the AI perspective of Sea of Rust. I think both of these books were great. I do think Sea of Rust is much better, but Sea of Rust is also like kind of a sci-fi action-y book, whereas Clara and the Sun isn't, so that's probably why I like this one better. But yeah, if you liked the AI perspective, definitely check these ones out. I have for you guys today. I hope that you guys have a great week, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!